terms of the letters and the I'll do that. Do we need I've also got earpieces on the headphone. Yeah, got you. Thank you very much. Cheers. Yes, on the. Is that which country we want? Okay, 52. This is camera 2. We should also put the
Is Health getting any more money? Enough cash for the NHS?
And then you should have step by camera. Thank you very much. White paper. Do you want me to just make sure that mic's in the back picture for you? Oh, okay, so she can stand wherever it is. Do you want the trolley again? Oh, in here. Back, TV back. Take the one screen. In the other bag. Next one.
Morning, is this budget going to save Keir Starmer? It's enough to keep backbenchers happy?
No. Okay, if you look left, then I'll check this in.
Yeah. It'll get warmer as the morning goes on.
Is this a working class budget? Happy in job as cheap wit?
Thank you for that. All right, much appreciated. All right.
Is there any extra cash for schools? Is this a working class budget? Are you making the middle classes pay? Is this enough to keep Wales voting Labour? Is Cardiff Bay happy?
Yes, correct.
Good morning.
Is this a working class budget? Enough to save Starmer?
Yeah, both together. In addition to... Everyone to stay at home.
Is this enough to save Labour?
I'm sorry. Say again. I will treasure them all. Yeah, go on. Yes. On the Bradford stuff, what is she doing?
She's speaking to ordinary people.
Alright, so is it just a throw?
So just be a throw. And I think the focus is
So
on
how do I-
what do people want. She's our business correspondent.
Assessing what people want.
What people want from the budget, yeah. She's speaking to people all morning.
So it's not just Joe Public, it's sort of...
She's got a couple of...
It's sort of opinion formers in Bradford and that sort of stuff.
She's done a bit of that and a bit of... I think she's out and about somewhere. She's done a bit of you. Sort of personal...
No, I'm just doing it, actually.
Oh, cool.
classes pay. Is this a budget for voters or MPs? Is the cabinet behind this?
I can't see them as yet, but yes, I had a quick look at them. Yep. Yeah, talking. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. What's that? Yeah. Okay.
Are you shouting at that?
Right.
What are you shouting? Is it make or break? Save Starmer. Nice. Nice alliterative vibes there. See what you're doing. Nice.
Morning, sir.
Is this a working class budget?
Won't be long to wait now.
Do you want Andy in for the first one?
Yeah.
Go around this way.
Is this a budget for MPs or voters?
Do you want me to put this mic on now? Yes, please. Oh, I see, okay.
Will this budget save Starmer? Are you making the middle classes pay?
Very well, thank you. George? Yeah. You that in my back? Is that your back there? Yeah, that's
Is the welfare bill being cut? You make the middle classes pay for this?
down the street, Christian trains there. We just have a quick run through. 9 feet down the street, Christian train. This is. Who's on auto queue?
Right.
budgetary problems. Is that because you'd have to stand and pretend to look interested?
Our energy bill is going to get cut. Middle class is paying for this.
Check that this was right. Naomi, are you scroll up now? Yeah, it works. Yeah. Hi. Yeah, just have a quick run through, make sure this all works. Live. Okay. Happy.
Yeah, I'm talking
Live
about
is down the street. I'm Christian Fraser. This is the economy. The cabinet meeting is underway here in Downing Street ahead of Rachel. That's slow.
Yeah, I will talk at this level, maybe this level if I get to speak.
The cabinet meeting is underway here in. Yep.
So stop it.
It's got to mix it. We're mixing it here. Yeah. All right. Yeah, they were just testing guest mic. Okay. Okay. How are you guys? Live from Downing. All right. Live from Downing Street, I'm Christian Fraser. This is BBC News. The Cabinet meeting is underway here in Downing Street ahead of Rachel Reeve's budget announcement this afternoon, in which she will lay out her tax and spending plans to Parliament. We will have special coverage. Chancellor says she will make fair and necessary choices to ease the cost of living, but will it be enough to ease the concerns of the markets? It's a bit slow for me. Just scroll a bit quicker. Can't get Lewis. Yeah. All right. Okay. Live from Downing Street, I'm Christian Fraser. This is BBC News. The Cabinet meeting is underway here in Downing Street ahead of Rachel Reeve's budget announcement this afternoon, in which she will lay out her tax and spending plans to Parliament. We will have special coverage. The Chancellor says she will make fair and necessary choices to ease the cost of living, but will it be enough to ease the concerns of the markets?
Okay, so
Number 11. Very good morning. It is budget day. We are in Downing Street, outside number 11, where in just a few hours' time, the Chancellor Rachel Reeves will emerge and reveal to us the famous red box and the budget she hopes will shore up her position and that of the embattled Prime Minister. It is a cold, frosty morning here in London. The Cabinet Secretaries are just together in number 10 to hear what the budget will mean for each of their departments. And it does feel as if we've been through quite a few iterations of this budget already. There was the inflated rise in income tax and then the rapid retreat from it. This week, we've been trying for a whole smaller tax rises to fill a £30 billion fiscal hole. Now, at the last budget, Rachel Reeve gave herself just a sliver of headroom, which always increases the risk that the Chancellor will be blown off course. And behind it all lies the central problem that the UK faces: weak growth, high spending, and in recent years some overly optimistic forecasting from the OBR. There will be a downgrade, we're told today, in the productivity forecast. This week, she asked the fractious left of the party to be patient and to back the whole package, not cherry-pick the parts that they like best. The question now is whether she can deliver something credible enough for the markets and reassuring enough for our own backbenchers. With me in Downing Street to guide us through the day, Nick and Andy Veggie. Welcome to you both. Yeah. He's in. This is a make or break.
I mean, it's make or break in the sense that if she gets this right, she might buy herself and the Prime Minister a bit more than before. How many times have we seen big questions about her future, about the Prime Minister's future, over unforced errors? And a lot of MPs extremely unhappy with what's been going on behind both of these doors over the last few weeks. Is it the case that if this goes badly wrong, the Chancellor's done? Probably not immediately, in the sense that there isn't an obvious mechanism by which the Labour Party will start to change things. But be under no illusion, politically, this is a huge moment for this country. Being on the back here, we've struggled to set a narrative of what it wants to do with power. Today will be an attempt to change it. We'll get a lot of the detail in there just now. I'm sure Rachel Reeve is giving them her pitch for why this is the budget we need to deliver. She's been doing that all week actually. On Monday when she was speaking to backbench Labour MPs, telling them that this was going to be a budget that was difficult but necessary. I think that probably gives us a sense of where we're going to be this afternoon. There's going to be some stuff in there that's really unpopular. There's got a lot of criticism over the next 24 or 48 hours. But it feels, Christian, that when you look at what we know is in there and what we think is in there, what might be in there, it feels like a budget that is aimed at Rachel Reeve's party. It's going to matter how this goes down with the markets, of course it's going to matter how this goes down with the business world, with facing pretty abruptly from what we've heard so far. When you look at things like scrapping the triple cap, you look at some of the tax rises that are coming, you look at the mansion tax reform that is taking, you look at the promise not to be spending more cash for the NHS, more money to tackle the cost of living. That's the sort of stuff the Labour MPs will chew your ear off about. So I think a lot of them by tonight might be pretty happy. As ever, we're working on the previews, which are designed to set the agenda for number 11, Devil, to use the cliche in the meeting.
Andy, look, I mean, all governments.
Well, Rachel Reeve has urged them to do that. It's a couple of hours until she emerges from number 11 with her red box. She will be aware that there is talk in Westminster about the future of her and of Keir Starmer, and whether they can go the distance, given that the change they promised in the election has been slow to materialise. They face threats from the left and from the right. She knows this budget has to land well with Labour MPs, with the markets. She's promised no return to austerity, but no borrowing spree either, and of course with the public, this government is looking pretty unpopular according to opinion polls. She says it will be a Labour budget to help those with the lowest incomes, so expect a centrepiece to be a rise in the national living wage to £12.71 an hour, putting about £1 grand into the pockets of people on those lowest incomes, and Labour MPs also likely get something they can push for, which is the lifting of a two-child cap on benefits. So how will it be paid for is of course the big question, and we're expecting not one big lever to raise £7 or £8 billion, with income tax, they dropped that idea to put on a range of tax rises. We expect people with high value homes, savers, certainly cost savings for their pensions. So there's a question about how it will all go down, whether it buys the government any time, any goodwill to get through what we know will be a tricky budget. Thank you, I'll see you at 10.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of points there, Christian. What you consider
Thank you. You don't use
Just to balance money coming out with money going in.
I'm going to go back at 10.
actually, there have been 5 times since 1971
10:45, 11,
and over the last 125 years, only 14 times in those 125 years
Yep.
the budget has been surplus. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily, because
with
in
no,
lots of those
I'm
years we've got much higher economic growth than in the last 15 when we
Good luck
concentrated
then.
so hard on austerity. The Chancellor's job is not just to be a steward of the public finances.
How is your analysis that's not that far holding up,
When
eh?
the government's in that means that
Is there a U-turn in the
vice
offering?
versa. So when the government's in surplus, that's not necessarily a good thing for households and firms. So on the one hand, people want the public finances.
Yep, see fine.
She'll want to reassure the markets. She doesn't want the markets to take fright like she did in 1984.
You've got all the gear, you've got all the
But it's not. It's a bit of a false dichotomy to say if you depart at all from your self-imposed fiscal targets, then the markets are going to sell off. They've changed those targets.
I'll be back at 10. Text me if you want some coffee.
What are they?
Sure.
This is just a big about it. The government says, in 2 years' time, we want to be spending less than we're getting in on day-to-day stuff like benefits and civil servant salaries. Okay, so that's been a promise now since around about 1997. The number of times that promise has actually been met? Once. 2000, 2001. That's right, exactly. So you've got and what use is it to have somebody give you a forecast 3 years from now, which is very likely not to come true? So just to give you one example. Well, there is an argument about that. We have a situation where the OBR, which has been there since 2010, before 2010, everything hangs on its forecast. And there's a question here as to whether the forecast there is dragging the economic stock. So, these things starts to work out what's going to happen to the public finances when we take the various actions. But to start with a forecast 3 years from now, work backwards, and then set your policy based on that, a lot of people are now questioning whether that's a sensible framework. How's that really in a much longer time? So what do you think net zero, for example? You never found any totally things that you naturally associate with Labour voter. You're going to be really general about it. Decent salary, yes, you'll be paying more tax. We were just talking about. Maybe if you've got an electric car, you're going to be paying a bit more tax because there's going to be a charge per mile if you've got one of them. And one of the really interesting things that's perhaps a bit misunderstood about this budget is when you speak to entities from both sides, particularly Labour entities, they think that scrapping the future policy is the right thing to do. They don't think it's popular. And polling actually suggests it's really unpopular with a lot of people who might actually be Labour voters. So there's a thought in this that's going to be really complicated. And I suppose the ultimate test in the next few days, when people at home sit down and use the budget calculators or figure out all the things that are going to matter to them, is do they feel, one, be better off, and two, do they think it's fair? Because a lot of people, I suspect, will be prepared to do a bit more tax if they think it's competitive. The danger for the government is that if the smorgasbord of taxes, that people will slowly realise that they're a bit more. And with the spending already set out, they don't feel like they've seen the benefits. Well, our special coverage will begin around 11:15. just ahead of the chance of watching BBC News. So it's going to look a little bit wider. Here's that correspondent. Okay. What's next? Can we just start? Sorry, say that again.
The director just needs to tell us what shots.
Right. Could you let us know what shots you would like? Because the camera crew, we have 3 cameras here, so they just need a bit more direction. 1 is on me, and 2 is pointing that way. Right. Did you hear this thing about the cameras? You did? Yeah. News package 54 is on package, sorry, the number 11 camera is on package 54. Okay, yep. And Vicky Spratt is here, so we can do hers as well. Oh, do we don't have a third mic, do we? No. Good. Bring her in. Yeah? 4th mic, yes. Sorry, yes. That's why I'm not an economist. Maybe we should talk about debt. If debt were a political harm, it would cost us certain.
Yeah. That's right. It's a bit like your credit limit. So if you so simply, the bond markets evaluate the prospects for the UK economy and set an interest rate that they demand in order to compensate themselves for their risk. If the UK Chancellor has poor credit because we're not sure how she's going to make her fiscal targets work, then they might charge a higher interest rate. The signs are so far is that they're charging lower interest rates in recent weeks, which does suggest that her efforts to appease the buyers and sellers in the bond markets have been reasonably successful. Giving you the chance to see, I suspect you've seen some audience she's going to be really kicking into this stuff. I think the Conservatives have called for to balance the book. So yes, in that sense, I do think she has some common cause. People look at public services quite often question why they're not working. For example, being in the NHS, there will be more cash in the NHS and the budget. However, I do think we will see sometimes, I don't know exactly what it will look like, but one of the key areas that's been discussed is welfare. Wants to bring down the cost of welfare, we struggle to do it because Labour has brought on board the plan that was announced earlier in the year. But in terms of how you view the big picture of this budget, the Conservatives saying, look, one of the big problems here is we're just spending too much, the state's too big, we need to reduce the size of it. The Chancellor's rejected it. She's not going to have big spending cuts to the services. We want to focus instead on tax rises, because we think austerity again will be damaging.
That legislative
well, this is something, there's been so much hype about this budget, and lots of room to properly do this. There's a new property tax. It looks like a bill is worth £2 billion, many of which are in London, which means there's a Labour strike. How will it affect Labour as a country strike? I think it's a question of the Chancellor's going to have to answer. What this is about is reevaluating some bills and tax. Now that's they have looked at since 1991, and as everybody in this country knows, we have had conservation since then. People are receiving this national tax as it's been approved. Probably won't feel that it's very fair if it's only there tax on the system, which is what was being trailed over. It sounds very complicated, doesn't it? And my understanding, we don't know what is going on, so my understanding is exactly, but we can't let it might be delayed until people die. That sounds a lot like an inheritance tax myself. I think that's what we think about it. So if Rachel Reeves does do this tax, she does it in a really fun tax, because the other thing she does, can't always get it if it's a cleaner. But even maybe years ago to make work worse, she was plus. Like from money, asset rich and cash poor. So it could be that this is something that is a lot of tax, or because children are not to die, which is oh, absolutely. And also people are selling just below to make sure they can get a buyer. I think in that sense. What I would say though is that lots of economists I've spoken to were actually in favour of the system. That's a problem because people have that have worked much more than they were in the 90s. People have a passport far more proportionally to some owners in London. So I think just doing it very we don't know what's happening on stamp duty, but I would say the rumours